passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in, touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swing it and drive! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
Hello and welcome, Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond. He's Andy Billman, I'm Jarid Watson, and
Cleveland Browns.
What are we looking for this weekend, this Sunday? Is it going to end up being a complete embarrassment on the field with the Browns starting up with a brand new head coach, of course, Greg Williams, former defensive coordinator for the team, and I guess, Andy, I'm looking for a place to start here, is the point. I feel like there's so many different... Do we start with Hugh Jackson on First Take this morning? Do we start with Greg Williams at the podium and all his job offers? Do we start with the offense? Are they in turmoil? Are they not? Do we start with how, of all the coaches to still be there, is our special teams coach still on this team? Andy, you lead this for me at this moment because I can go anywhere with it.
Happy Friday. And yes, I will be happy to take charge of this. So I think the big thing to do first is close Hugh. So we all know that Hugh should have probably been fired last year because he dragged us on for 8 weeks. You're having, as we like to call in the world, a bleep storm, an S storm. And they have one in Cleveland, Ohio right now. But they had to fire Hugh Jackson. So it was the right move. It was a good move. And I'm happy, actually, for Hugh as well. I think he's going to feel relief. And I just watched the First Take stuff, and I will already say he looks a lot better than he did
he was
on the podium.
He didn't sound like he was deflecting as much as usual. He looked like he was auditioning for his next offensive coordinator.
As he should. That's why you go on shows like that.
Took more responsibility in that on First Take than I heard in 3 years coaching that team.
Yes, and I think that's the point. I think he finally needed a therapy moment on the air, and he got that today through First Take. Nothing groundbreaking was said, nothing that's going to cause sound bites in the headlines. But the basic premise, hey, I didn't win enough games. I didn't do enough to get this team to the places it needs to go, and I'm out. And you know what? Sometimes it's just that simple, and I'm summarizing, but that's basically what he said. I got, again, my biggest cues were how he looked. He didn't look stressed out.
No.
He looked like he had good skin tone today. He just looked relieved. So for people who are debating the timing of this, I still think the timing of this was right. We all know the biggest timing issue was when they did not fire him last year. And that's how we got here.
So let's talk about this then. One thing that did stand out to me is that he really stood by his that he feels that it's a mischaracterization to call it the infighting. What were the two words? What are the words that were used? Stephen A. said it a few times. I feel terrible that I forgot. But whatever it was, the rift between him and Todd Haley, he would not really go there and address those things that we all know were a problem.
Yeah, and see, that's where I understand why he was doing that. He can't do that. You can't do that on First Take on a Friday when you get fired on Monday. Can't do it. And, I know people want to hear that. I know you and I would like to hear that. We may even be able to open up more than he would, but he can't do that. And the reason why is because he's on the fringe of being exiled from this community. When you have a 3-36-1 record, that's what happens. So he has to keep face right now, and he's got to play the political mindset. It's not the right, look, we don't need to put on our detective hats and get out our magnifying glass. They didn't like each other. It's pretty evident. I think you and I even thought that even before the firing on Monday. We talked about it in this podcast. So for what it's worth, I think Hugh Jackson admitting that, I understand why. He's got to do some political cleanup damage here.
Right.
And he can't get into that stuff. Now, he not admitting it, whatever else, look, it's all BS. And again, I understand why he didn't do it. I'll just leave it at that.
Andy, there's also the issue of that popped up to me of former head coach Hugh Jackson claiming that he was the one behind the Todd Haley hire, that it was all him, that it was his decision. And then, but then exactly. And then you turn around and I guess what I'm going to get to is I'm really at a point now where I don't know. This is another sign to me, the way that this has been handled and the way that Hugh kind of talked about it. Is Jimmy Haslam going to continue to interfere with the way that this team is run? It just because Hugh says he's the one who hired Todd Haley, but then Hugh can't address the offense himself when he wants to take back. He was hired for that whole jumbled up mess of a situation. Still, to me now, is leading back to Mr. Haslam and D. Haslam need to get their noses out of micromanaging and jumping rank in a sense, which I'm worried they're going to do over John Dorsey.
Okay. There's a couple things here. Let's go back. I think we should close the book on Hugh and then get to the Haslams.
Right.
So to close the book on Hugh, he did hire Todd Haley. In fact, I bet you one time he had to sign off on that. Do I think he was the one who instigated or the one who brought those two together? Probably not. And more than likely, the more we've been hearing, the more I've been reading, it sounds like that Dorsey did that. So that's not really that surprising to hear. Do I think he had to give the official sign off? I do. Do I think he might have been swayed by Dorsey? Yeah, probably. So I think all that's accurate. I don't think that's inaccurate information. Is it the whole truth? No, it's not. And again, Hugh, those kind of answers to me are a little bit more fishy. Yeah. But again, he had to give a political. Again, I know why he's doing it. He's trying to do political cleanup damage because he has to stay relevant if he wants to get back into coaching, and he has to clean up some of the stuff. So he did what he had to do. He had to get out there. The first round of answers that we went through, I don't really mind so much. The Todd Haley thing, I would have kept that really nipped and tucked in the bud. But again, he had to do political cleanup. That's why he gave the answers he did. Okay, so that's the end of Hugh Jackson. We all know he had to sign off on it. And by the way, I think he did sign off on it. Do I think he was swayed by someone like John Dorsey? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So that's how I kind of leave Hugh Jackson. But you know what? It's neither here nor there. Getting back to your overall point, though, we're here about the Haslams. I think the Haslams are going to have to do some very good teeter-tottering here on what this next coach is going to be. My feeling, as I know majority of, so we're on the same page, Dorsey needs to be the one in charge and the one who executes this down the road. Okay? I do not have a problem with the Haslams sitting in on things. I do have a problem with the Haslams that they want to get really involved and start swaying decisions. That's where I get prickly. Because owners will always have the right to sit in the room for a head coaching hire.
Absolutely.
I can't dispute that. What is going to be the question, are you going to have a corn ferry? Are you going to have multiple discussions and panels? That is what I hope they do not do. If they want to chat about it afterwards and get some feedback, I could understand that. But I would hope at one point they would say, John, we're going to lead you and your crew to make the decision and we'll step out. That's what I hope happens here. We will see what happens. We all know the answers in the past. The Haslams are not only the ones in the room, they're really leading the charge on all these hires. So.
I'm hoping that John Dorsey is – this is so tough. It's going to be a tightrope for him.
He's got a lot of pressure on his back, Jared.
He really does.
He really does. I mean, again,
because what do you do? Does he say, look, it's not – I mean, does he stand his ground with the boss? You know, if he wants,
he's got to. And by the way, Haslam's not that different compared to every other owner, though. All the owners sit in the head coaching hires. I mean, that's not new. That's not news breaking to me. Randy Lerner was so unique that he didn't do that stuff that I think it caused more problems. Okay, so and that's how it was ran before Haslam took over. So I know people remember the Randy Lerner days. To be fair, Randy Lerner I think was the one, or maybe there's even probably another I'm not thinking of. But usually all the owners sit in these meetings when it comes to head coaching hires. I mean, the Tisches do. Certainly the Rooneys do. So that's just not uncommon. And those are two legendary organizations, okay? So to say that the Haslams are not doing the right thing by sitting in, that's not true. They have a right to sit. They have a right to get out of a chair, obviously. They're signing the checks. Again, what it comes down to is can they trust Dorsey and his staff to make the best decision?
They hired him, so they better be.
Again, that's the question. It is too early to tell. It is way too early to tell, and we're not going to know until we really get into the heart of the offseason, or probably to that week 17. I think that's the one we're going to know.
what is going on with those that this move at this point in the season was a surprise for? How is this?
Who was surprised by what?
How is any of this a surprise?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't understand the taking back. Again, we on this podcast had a very strong opinion even after the Ravens game. We felt he had to go. Because we foresaw, I thought this was coming after the Bucs game. The tone was set with Carlos Hyde trade. I thought that tone was set of we're planning for next year. And since that game, it's felt like that. Since that trade, it's felt like that. This is all of a plan for next year, which I think is the wrong move because it puts all the pressure on this draft in 19. But not getting too far ahead. You know, Dorsey's got a lot of big strings to pull, and he's the guy pulling the strings. Now, when it comes to – let's get to people who are blindsided, whether it was Joe Paltonio, whether it's Drew Stanton – they are saying, like, let's not misquote him. Drew Stanton said, quote, has anybody seen this before within a 2-hour period? Talking about, the surprising fires of not just Hugh Jackson, but Todd Haley as well.
And the separate timeline for both of those.
Correct. And then blindsided, I would say, Joe Paltonio said, it's unfortunate. Anytime somebody you've been working with a few years gets fired, you never expect something like this to happen. It's adversity. And then he goes, how do you respond from it and all that other stuff. Okay, so – the one thing I guess we can all say is something happened between Sunday night and Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll never know the true answers to what happened there. But for the Browns to do a press release at 10:30 saying Hugh Jackson's going to do his normal press conference, and then by 1 o'clock, or I think it was 2:30, he was officially announced he got fired, that's very odd. PR people hate doing that. So it's not like it's a PR stunt. For people who think PR people love putting out press releases that are incorrect, they hate that actually.
No,
because the whole job is giving them messages out.
Right.
So it's not a PR stunt. I heard that a little bit too. It's not a PR stunt. That was not done.
I'll speak firsthand to this as somebody who worked the Air Force's version of this, public affairs. that is something that would throw, at least from my world that I came from public affairs in the military. When commanders pull that stuff on our public affairs officers, it's embarrassing, it's painful, it's awful, and you're the ones left to clean up the mess afterwards.
Well, that's right.
And refocus the messaging.
Well, that's right. So what the Browns could be criticized for is how they handled the messaging from Sunday night to Monday 2:30, because the players certainly didn't get it. And that is not good. And that does go on Dorsey. But is that unusual in sports? No. Is it the right thing to do, though, in sports? No. The Browns mismanaged. Here's where they've messed up. They did not handle the message properly to the players, in my opinion. You should have sat down with them immediately after that meeting and said, here's what's going on, and then get it out there. For it to get out in the press first and then have the players hear about it and then tell the players about it.
I'm gonna speculate because I can do that right now. I'm going to speculate, and I'm going to play devil's advocate. Is it still on John Dorsey if he was in a position where he had to focus all of his energy on convincing the Haslams that now was the time to make these decisions, and then in turn took his attention away from the players because he had a job to do in his mind, which was get these guys out of here now, and the Haslams need to accept it and make it happen now.
Okay, so let's go backwards to go forward. They should have fired Hugh. That's not on Dorsey. That was a Haslam thing. Okay? So that's not on Haslam. It's not on Dorsey. So you get to this point where I don't understand from Dorsey's perspective, and the only tiny, tiny argument Hugh Jackson has is, hey, you cut Josh Gordon, which was definitely more a Todd Haley influence decision, and then you traded away our starting running back 48 hours before the game. What the hell did you think was going to happen? And not replacing any of these people. That's where Dorsey had some shortcomings.
Right.
He's done a good job. I think he's a good personnel manager when it comes to putting talented players on the field. He has not done a good job so far of handling management when it comes to office skills. Office skills of telling your other coworkers someone's getting fired. He didn't handle that well. He did not handle cutting Josh Gordon and replacing a talented individual in his place. He did not do a good job of handling this year, of trading Carlos Hyde, expecting with a team that was short on weapons to begin with, losing one of their better weapons again, and expecting to win ball games. You got to handle that messaging. He has not done that yet, and that has been a claim in the past of why he left Kansas City.
Well,
he has to get better at that. Has to.
I want to move on to this next question. We talk about personnel. We talk about guys on the field. There were no moves made before the trade deadline.
No, which I wasn't surprised.
I wasn't either. And we talked about it. If the Browns didn't pull the win out in Pittsburgh, what's the point afterwards?
Yep.
But at the same time,
they are going for 2019.
I understand.
You can't make trades. You can't make trades now.
How are you without? It sounds, at least to me, I feel like one aspect of taking care of and protecting and developing your rookie quarterback is to put another wide receiver on the field.
Absolutely,
again,
Jared.
To get the ball out quicker, to open it up a little bit more. I just don't.
Again, I don't understand. Again, that's why when you called me on Friday, I was bummed out 2 weeks ago. Because they put more value on a fifth-round pick for next year compared to winning 2 or 3 more games this year. In my opinion, that's what you did when you traded Carlos Hyde. And by the way, let's see how Nick Chubb's legs are doing in December. And I'm not saying Nick Chubb's good. I like Nick Chubb a lot.
I know.
But you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie running back on a shaky offensive line to play 8 games down the stretch here. A lot of pressure.
Yeah. Are there any moves or swaps or anything? Do you put Batonio back on the left side? I mean, is there anything that?
Well,
that's
they
another
got
thought.
to.
I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but that's a real worry for me. That offensive line scares me. This Harrison.
Well, we talk about it. Harrison stinks. Don't need to see him anymore. I'm good. Callaway, come back. I want to see what you do next year. Harrison, sorry, nice guy probably, but no, I do not need to see him anymore.
But that's what But do you move? I mean, do you make a move on that offensive line?
I would
in these 8 games.
I would. See. That's the thing. The Browns are again. I hate saying this. They're all about next year. So why not reshuffle the line? Try things. You drafted a kid at the top of the second round. Put him in one of these positions and slots and try it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Baptism by fire at this point.
I mean, you need to, or you have to put in a blocking tight end or a Corbett as a 6th lineman. And no one likes doing that because no one does that anymore, which is total BS if your offensive line stinks. If your offensive line stinks in the 80s and 90s, you know what they did? They put a 6th lineman in there. But that's gone away, and I know it's not trendy or cool. But you know what? If your offensive line stinks, you should have a 6th lineman. Period. End of sentence. Or a blocking fullback or something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Because expecting tight ends out of the backfield or even Duke Johnson to be able to like it's not.
It's a joke.
It's not.
It's a joke, Jared. I'm tired of this. Well, we tried our best. Oh, my God, that drives me crazy. And the Browns have done that since the Tampa Bay game. Well, and where's an example of that? 3rd and 12. Hey, we had a nice 7-yard pass. Oh, my God, throw it 13 yards. Make plays to get 15 yards. Why are we we've been going these last 2 games were like 16 and 17. They felt like it, and we're in those seasons now. We're in Browns hell. Can we get out? I think we can. We don't know how it's going to go, but we can.
Let's look forward here with these 8 games and let's do the schedule game.
Long season, by the way. I don't
want to do the schedule game.
No, not let's please for my heart. Please.
No, I'm not going to go there. But what I will say is this.
I got Bach over here.
Well, where's it at? Mine's downstairs. All I have is my coffee, and that ain't going to cut it for that.
No.
The outlook for the next 8 games, Greg Williams running this team, and the word that I'm getting from certain players that are leaking a little bit of information are that some of these young kids actually came to life for the first time this week at practice.
Well, that's good.
And gave more effort.
I think you're going to see
that there was a fire lit under their asses
that by the way,
had not been lit previous.
By the way,
these are sources that are on the ground in Berea and working with alongside these players, that's the information coming out.
By the way, and that's typical of a coaching firing. It just sucks. We're playing the wrong team. If you're playing anybody else, like the Rams, Chiefs, and Patriots are not the week, and guess who? We drew one of them. We drew the Chiefs. The Saints would be another one I wouldn't want to draw right now. But you're drawing one of those teams, and you drew the Chiefs. If you play the Falcons, if you switch these two games, I actually might like the Browns to win on Sunday. But the Chiefs, and we'll get there. I mean, the Chiefs, that's a tough spot. But I'm not surprised they're playing better, and they should be playing better. There were things – okay, look, we've been way too glazing here. There were things just outside of even basic stuff we're talking about that Hugh Jackson didn't do a good job with. So I'm not surprised to hear they're getting excitement, and they should be excited and energized. It's a better team. Now, obviously, through all this, we should all know that, Coach Williams has had several job offers. In fact, it sounds like he could have just shown up and signed for a couple, according to his quotes that he said. Now, I think Greg Williams, the one thing I can already tell from him a little bit, I would just be careful if you start losing to start talking the way he is a lot. That's going to wear real thin everywhere. From fans
if his way isn't working, it's not going to be a good
look. Yeah, if I were him, buyer beware, because it's not going to last long in this town. I'm not surprised to hear that, because again, the elephant in the room that I think too many people who I actually love and respect in the media, who I just don't agree with. Haley caused some problems here too, and even though I like Haley, and I could tell Haley and I could have a beer anytime and hang out, in fairness, Haley also caused some tension here that caused him to get axed. And that tension really rubbed off on Baker Mayfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they didn't. And you know what? And it's a shame. It's a shame that instead of the focus being on the football field and the games, that the focus was on personalities clashing. And that is just really frustrating.
And that's why the more I thought about it, I think Haley getting fired was the right move, too. I really do.
Yeah. Why would you get rewarded for?
That's right.
I mean, it's not. Let's see. If you were just pointing out the issues with you, got it. If you were, what's the nice way of putting this? If you were trying to work those issues out, whatever. If you were politely disagreeing, but he wasn't. He was undermining him.
Yes. Oh my God. So undermining him.
Right.
He undermined him on national TV.
That's not a good look.
I mean, he did. No, and I understand some of it, and I appreciate that he did that, but he did not. Look, it was so obvious in the Giants preseason game, and if it's obvious in a preseason game, then it's even more obvious in a regular season. So those things had to go. Williams is the guy. Freddie Kitchens is the offensive coordinator. We'll see how this goes. They look
like they at least are on the same page when it comes to
absolutely.
What are we saying here? Holding people accountable, and vision-wise, I think that they'll. Man, I'm just hoping keep this thing duct taped together for 8 more games.
Well, they're going to have to, and again, these moves that were made. Again, I'm trying not to do this too much as I repeat it so much, but I'm going to repeat it one more time. When you cut a Josh Gordon, you don't replace him. When you trade Carlos Hyde, you're going to have some shortcomings on talent. And if you think you can just get scrap heap to fill in or rookies, 8 out of 10 times we've seen it here. It doesn't work.
Does Greg Williams split the difference 4-4 record and then get himself consideration for head coaching job?
Nope.
Not possible.
Nope. He is doing everything he can to audition for a new job, a defensive coordinator job, or some sort of television job. That's what he's doing. He's not going to be the coach. If he's the coach of Cleveland Browns, I'll do something weird on the podcast, but he's not going to get the job. I'd be surprised. Unless he wins 6 or more
jump games. In the lake.
No, I don't jump in the lake. I'll drink a lot of water. No, I mean, look, I think, to be fair, if Greg Williams wins 6 or more games, I think Greg Williams stays. I'm going to steal the thunder for Tony Grossi, because I agree with him. He's got to win games. It's down to winning games right now. It really is. It really is. Yeah. This is down to winning games. It's simple as that. Injury report real fast. Yep. Higgins did practice on Thursday. It's not official. I don't think they'll give it a go until Sunday. But I get the vibe he's going to play on Sunday, which I think is good. So it sounds like Higgins is coming back. EJ Gates is huge. Oh, the wide receivers can use him badly. Yeah. EJ Gaines, unless something drastic changes, he's definitely playing on Sunday. He's out of protocol. He's been quoted a lot this week about playing a hill, so he's in there. Schobert's a no-go. Randall did not practice this week, so I think he's likely out again. And I think Shredder's not going to play. So I don't think he looked right against the Steelers last week. So he's got a high ankle sprain. So they'll say questionable for him, but I just don't know if you can trot him out there. He did not look well, and he didn't do a terrible job either. But I don't know. I just don't know how much longer he can go with Shredder if he really is banged up like this.
Back to Schobert. What are we looking at with him?
I think after the bye week. I really do. And by the way, I would not rush Schobert back.
No.
You need to make sure he gets healthy. Don't rush him back at this point.
Why would you? Don't rush anybody back.
That's my point.
Don't rush anybody back. But now you've got a head coach and an offensive coordinator who don't like guys sitting on their injuries.
I know. Well, the only guy I agree with is Higgins. We need wide receiver help. So Higgins coming back is a big deal. Huge deal, considering how we thought of this podcast on that. So, I don't know. Before we go on to our grade cards,
right.
Is there anything else you want to touch on? Because I'll tell you, we hit a lot of it on Monday. A lot of it was foaming in the mouth this week through other media sources and whatever else. I think it's been pretty much tagged. But I think, how this week has landed is I think Hugh had to go. I understand the Haley firing. I'm not anti that. I love Haley, but he didn't handle the situation right either. So they're both gone. That's just the natural thing to do in a business. Dorsey's communication with this between the team has been poor so far. We hope it improves. I think he has to do – I think we all agree. We hope he is the one who – yes, the Haslams are going to be in the room, but we hope he's the one who pulls the trigger, who leads the charge. It's not a group effort with the Haslams. And we'll have to see how that goes. And in the meantime, I think Williams is going to be a very chatty Cathy. I think he's going to be out there a lot talking, and that's going to be good for you and I and for other people. But if they don't win, I don't know how much this act's going to be, received well.
I don't think anyone's expecting them to win Sunday at home.
No way.
But here's the question: is it going to look? And I think it will be, just because of the type of team Kansas City is.
Okay.
I think it's going to look possibly worse than that Pittsburgh and that Chargers game. I mean, it has the possibility to get away fast, and then it's going to be a real wake-up call for Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens. I don't know. I mean, if that's how it goes, then this thing can spiral for the 7 games following.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'll pause to give the predictions at the end of this. But I think the bigger thing here for Greg Williams, and he's not going to want to hear this, but it's true, is the maturation of Baker Mayfield. That is a huge part of this job right now, because I think Baker slid. I don't think he played great against the Ravens. I thought he played okay. He didn't play well against the Chargers. He didn't play well against the Bucs. I thought he played okay against the Bucs. I shouldn't say he didn't play well. He played okay. He did not play well against the Steelers at all. And that final drive doesn't count because the Steelers weren't really trying.
Well, all you have to look no further than the 49ers-Raiders game.
Yeah. Boy, John Gruden, not fun right now.
Look at the other side of the ball. How the 49ers they march out that young kid at quarterback who goes and gets them a win.
Yeah.
That should have been such an easy win for the Browns.
Well, they had the wrong coach.
How bad
Hugh Jackson is. But Hugh Jackson was that bad, Jared. He was that bad.
How much does that say?
I
get it. At any given Sunday, I gotcha. But still, come on.
He's bad.
They should have never lost that game, and that might be more egregious than how they played against Pittsburgh and against the Chargers.
Yeah, and by the way, in fairness in that game, Greg Williams' defense had a terrible day. That was one of the rare days they played awful. I mean, the defense just got torn to shreds.
Yep.
Let's give some report cards.
Let's do it.
Let's give a grade. We'll give a grade to certain individuals at the top, but more into groups and everything else as we go along. What would you give a grade to Baker Mayfield so far?
B-. I can't expect much else from him. I get it that he's underperforming at this point.
Yep.
I think that it's even in his head that he just wants to survive.
Yep.
And he knows he's not going to get the help that he was hoping he was going to get.
Yeah, I think you might be surprised on my grade. I'm actually going to give him a B+, because I think he's really been put up against it. I don't think he's been given a fair chance so far. I really don't. I don't think he's just been given a fair chance. So I think it's been a B plus. The only thing I can't give him an A for is what you just alluded to. In fairness, he has not had good games, really. And the Jets game was good. I thought he played really well against the Raiders, except for an interception or two. But he's really not had a good game since the Raiders. So it's been a while. I'd like to see him play well, hopefully this weekend. Let's do let's do individuals first. Landry.
C minus.
Boy, you're a tough grader. I like this. I give him more of a C plus. I thought he's been playing better lately. C plus, B minus.
Yeah, I'll give you better lately, but even that Pittsburgh game, where was he? I think he had 6 receptions and or something like that, 60, 70 yards. It wasn't.
He's underperforming. So I'll say C plus. I'll lead off this.
C minus only because I feel like his attitude has been a part of that lately.
I agree. I thought he's changed since the game we got on him. But, yeah, I agree. I mean, Landry had some he was definitely, again, a little too chatty. I'll lead off Callaway. I think Callaway is a C minus to D. I know he's a rookie, but I think he has disappeared since the Jets.
I'm giving him. I think he took a W. I think he withdrew before the rating on the semester, and he's just going to come back next season.
Yeah, I will say this. He can get extra credit and improve his grade from this year to last year. But I think Callaway, I'm going to give him a C minus on that because he's a rookie. If he was a veteran, it'd be a D or an F, but I'll do that. I'll do Higgins as well. I think Higgins is a solid B.
Yeah.
But because he's been unhealthy, I'll say a B minus, and that's tough. But in football, you need to be healthy, so I'll say a B minus because of his health.
I was going to say a B plus because of expectations, and I thought that he's exceeded them. And injury,
yes.
If he can stay healthy the rest of the season, that'll carry into next year.
No, I agree. I'm not going to give him any lower than B minus, but a solid B if you're healthy. The wide receivers as a whole, I mean, it's hard not to give them very much because you see the potential. See, it's again like we said about Callaway. I see the potential for long term. For this year, it's a D.
Overall, absolutely, because that's between the offensive line and the wide receivers. What
is it D?
What are you doing for Baker Mayfield?
A lot of drops. A lot of drop passes. They do run. Yeah, they do. I mean, they run hard. There's just no really breakaway athletic ability.
They're not finding open spots in the field.
No. Last year's group and the year before were both Fs. So I've seen Fs. This is a D. And I'll tell you, it's almost a D minus because to your point, there's been some underperforming. But I'll say a D because, again, I've seen F. F was last year, and they're not that. So they're definitely better, but they're not a whole much more than great better. Wide receivers. I feel like
maybe these wide receivers aren't focusing on taking advantage of the middle of the field a little bit more with the way that the defense is not allowed to hit anymore.
I think
is that a part of them not getting open? I don't know.
I think the wide receivers need a serious evaluation again from this staff, and that is obviously Mr. Dorsey. I think the wide receivers, they have potential. Like, I see potential. And I didn't see potential at all last year, meaning I could see this group improving. Like, Riley can improve. Like, sure, I'm not naive. But if I'm being honest, like, this group's been underwhelming.
Maybe this goes back to the fact that, like I said, those players that, are unnamed, talking about how some of the young kids are coming to life a little bit more now. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what we're talking about here.
Well, we'll see. We'll go back to our grades at the end of the year and we'll see. But right now, that's kind of what I see it as. I mean, but all right. I'll let you lead off this one. What do you think of the running back situation?
I can't really fault the running game at all. I think that their decreased grade will come from offensive line. There's some times where I think Chubb tries to do a little bit too much in the backfield with his feet early on as opposed to just hitting it. But that's something that over time will change. I'm going to go with a B minus to a C, but that's not. It's like the kid who works his ass off to get that C.
Yeah,
they earned it, and that's this kind of C. It's not a markdown C. This is you worked your ass off to get your C.
Yeah, I think it's a solid B. I think management deserves a C minus. But I think running backs deserves a B because when Hyde was here, he was good. You got a good third down back in Duke Johnson who comes out of the backfield, and Chubb's a good player. I think the running backs are actually, again, I think you're running back short now, but I mean, that's for next year.
Yeah.
But I do like the running backs overall. I mean, that's the one position where I wouldn't draft a running back. Like, I'd actually try to get someone. Again, you know my feelings about Carlos Hyde. I don't understand that. All right, tight ends.
Non-existent at times. We'll shuffle 3 out onto the field. That's at times, especially with the issues we've had at wide receiver. David Njoku has his drop problems, but his potential, I guess, a C-, an underwhelming C-. Maybe a D+.
Yeah, see, I'm going to be harsh on this one. I think it's an F. I think these tight ends are all awful.
I mean, how much can you really expect out of a tight end during a game? There's only a few really elite ones in the league, right?
But in this league, tight ends can do a lot, and the Browns could really use a tight end. I don't really see a lot of blocking tight ends in this.
The issue, yes.
And again, like I don't understand. You know, I just harped on the wide receiver. I don't understand the strategy of the tight ends on this team because we have Njoku. I'm just not impressed by David. I hate to say I'm not on this bandwagon. I've seen enough. I don't know if I really want him around next year. I just don't think he's that great.
I'm not glued to him. I'm not as glued to him as I was earlier in the season, but I had more expectations, I think.
I just don't see it. He just disappears too much. Like even Jordan Cameron and these other guys, like I saw a little bit more. I just don't see it from David. I just think that whole position is a little lost. And these blocking tight ends we do have, they don't block. I don't see them blocking a lot. I don't know. Tight ends are an F all the way around. I just don't see it. Offensive line, I'll lead off this one. I think the offensive line obviously has an issue with Harrison. Obviously, the right side of the line, too, has had their problems, and J.C. Tretter's been hurt. You got the 2 guards who are veterans, and then you got this Austin Corbett who really hasn't found a spot yet. I think all the way around this line's a D.
Yeah.
I think it's hard giving it an F, but I'll say a D. And if I heard someone gave it an F, I wouldn't slam it because I don't understand it. The only reason why I won't say an F is they've had moments where they will do things in certain pockets of their wins and block.
Well, and there's no depth at that, on the line either.
They don't have a leadership thing. Well, I mean, I think I've hit 3 things where it's like they got to really think about how they proceed forward. Like, and the offensive line's another one. They're going to have to get a left tackle. And honestly, it sucks. They're going to have to go back in free agency and think about that too. That's amazing. All the Browns have done is added linemen for the last 2 or 3 years, and they're going to have to add more.
What's that say about how important Joe Thomas has been?
It's
together too up until now, and even that.
Well, they didn't have a plan with that, and I won't be on Dorsey on that. There's so many holes to fix in this ship that I understand it, but he's, O-lineman and a weapon is going to be 1 and 2, right? I mean, he's got it.
There's no other choice. It is nice though to not have to worry about the backfield.
No, I agree.
So add some linemen, add some, and what are we really looking at on the defensive side of the ball?
Here and there,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can focus on getting some playmakers, shoring up the line, and that in itself would open so much more up for that offense.
Well, right. And in fairness to everything we just said, I think 19 looks really bright. I mean, I really do. I think there's a lot of brightness there if the right moves are made. The best. To wrap up the offense, I think so far, just because of what he's brought the energy to, and I'll give Baker Mayfield so far as the best grade. I know he hasn't played well, but I'm being kind. I think he's gone through a lot. So Baker's my best individual grade. I just think he's handled a lot of stress and tug and pull. The worst I give is David Njoku. I just don't think he's that good. I just don't know how much more I need to see of him. And Desmond Harrison's pretty close too, but Harrison got off the street and he's a rookie, so I'm gonna go to David Njoku. I know he had a couple good games and I know he makes plays, but the inconsistency, I've had it. I don't know how much I can put up with it.
Yeah, and Callaway's not far behind on that, but
no, I agree. I think it's very fair to say that. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, is there anyone out there who stands out best and worst on offense where you get the defense? Anything else?
I mean, I think you nailed it. The Baker is what I'm liking the most about all this too, and I feel like I'll jinx it by mentioning it. I'm glad that Browns fans and those in the media in Cleveland aren't doing too much of the comparing of rookie quarterbacks.
No, you can't.
Baker.
Can't do it. And
I thought I would have heard more of it now, especially now that they've only got 2 wins, and because of some of the play over a few of the games, I thought I would start hearing a little more of the comparisons. But I'm glad that everyone seems to still be on the same page. That Baker has shown enough that he is the guy.
Oh,
really
absolutely.
Is. So I mean, with that in itself, that to me is the biggest win of this season. I mean, we have waited a very, very long time.
Yes.
Very long time.
No, it really have. Agreed. And I think the thing is, Baker has proven that no matter what you do in the offseason, you at least don't have to go back into quarterback, in the room and try to figure that out. So that's the biggest positive. On defense, I don't have as much pausing him and hawing, so I'll go him quickly this time. Defensive line, I think, the defensive line to me is weird because I see some things in there that I really like. There's some things in there with the pass rush that I like at times. The rush defense to me is I just don't think they do a good job against the run at all. So I'm going to give it a C+ with the expectations of saying I think this should be a B, but I can't give it a B. I just think it's C+ on this team.
I'm worried about this Sunday in the run.
I am too.
I mean, I guess a C+ sounds about right. C+, C-. It's in that range.
It's definitely a C of some sort, no matter how you want to do it. I've seen improvement, but I'm not seeing big jumps on defensive line. I'm not seeing big jumps.
I'm seeing it's painful every time that when you're watching a Connors or a Marshawn Lynch just blow by the over pursuit of that defensive line and the holes.
Charger game too.
Insane.
Charger game too. Yeah, no, it's bad. Linebackers, I think it's one of the strongest groups here. If you consider Schobert's healthy, I actually think it's an A-. I think the linebackers are pretty good. I don't really have too much to qualm. Even Jamie Collins, I think, is playing well. So I like it as to an A- for the linebackers.
Weren't we hearing word too about people? Were there teams looking for Jamie Collins? Thank God we didn't. I was glad that move wasn't made. I heard rumors.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to my point. You can't keep trading veterans when you're trying to win games.
Well, thank God they didn't. I was worried that they were going to do that. I think that the word was that even the Patriots were going to try to get him back if they could. But
well, I'm glad they didn't do that, but they got to keep winning games. Defensive backs, Denzel Ward has elevated this group to a new level. It's not an A to me, but boy, Denzel Ward's made it a strong B+.
Absolutely, strong B+, and he has set the tone.
Yes,
they're all competing right now for takeaways.
Yeah,
they're competing for takeaways. They're not getting hit with a lot of the PIs that you would expect, especially throwing guys in there for because of injuries and such. They have surprised the hell out of me. Overall,
I was going to say that too.
When games start to slip away, the middle of the field opens up a little bit. There have been some missed tackle issues.
Yeah, it's not an A. But there's been I guess my B+ is there's been so much improvement that it's man.
You're right. Night and day.
D- too. It wasn't an F last year, but it was low D's, and it's gone from that to a B. And because of that, I give it a B+ because I've really seen it's just startling the improvement. I kind of gave it away. My best grade goes to I got 2 rookies. I think Denzel Ward is just. Yep. If you listen to this podcast, he blows my mind. I think he is such a special player, and I really thought he won the Ravens game. And that's so hard for a cornerback to do. And I really mean when I say that. I thought he won the Ravens game with his play on the field that day. The worst, I don't know if really anybody stands out to worst, which is a good thing. I don't really see anything here that's dragging. You kind of alluded to it 5 minutes ago. I don't really see any big patches and holes. The only thing I guess I would say it's the worst is this run defense has to be shored up next year. I don't think you're going to be able to do it this year, so I'll be more realistic. I think next year they have to do something on the
No, and a lot of that has to do with scheme and the way that they're bringing pressure.
Yes.
Part of that is, that they're
absolutely
they try to that Garrett's wrapping out to the outside a little more. There's not a lot of moves to the inside, and moves to the inside might actually help stop some of those runs.
Well, no, but they're getting exposed now. To it. I mean, the Chargers really exposed it, I thought. So I thought the Raiders I thought earlier this year the run could have been more played by teams, but the Chargers caught on to it, and the Buccaneers don't run, but boy, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Raiders ran the ball down our throat, and we just never really slowed it down in any of those 4 games. Really didn't.
Yeah, running the ball against the Browns is an easy way to wear them down, to avoid the turnovers, and to win the game. Yeah,
they're going to have to figure out better ways to do that. Let's go to a good, easy grade for us, which is not a positive one. Look, special teams is an F, right? I mean, there's no way you can give this anything else. It's an F minus. I mean, 0.0 from Animal House.
How's that kicker still on the team?
Kicker, tackling, penalties, Peppers fumbling, Callaway looking lost. Just a disaster. There's nothing else to say. Like, I don't want to go back down that wheel. It's all awful. Special teams is so bad. It's bad. Bad. F. It's lost us games. That's how bad it is.
It's lost us, what, 3? 3 games?
Saints game, for sure.
3 games? 4 games?
I would argue the Saints. It definitely had a big impact on the Raiders game. And I would argue as well, it gave you a tie, but it cost you the Steelers game. So, anyways, that's special teams for it. It's been a bad year for special teams. I don't want to grade Greg too much, but it's going to be interesting to see what his grade will be as the season goes on. He's improved the defense a lot, so I'm giving his grade an incomplete only because I want to see him finish the year. If you want his first 8 games for defensive coordinator, I say C+. The only reason why I don't give it a B minus or B is the run defense to me has just really been porous. And I know
it feels ignored at this point. It really does.
Yeah, it does. I know he's scheming for the pass, but at some point you got to adjust. And I just don't think he's made good adjustments with that stuff. So I C+. He hasn't been bad, but C+. That's where I kind of see Greg Williams up at this point. What would you give John Dorsey?
B minus. I think John Dorsey's moves have made sense overall. Even let's put it this way: at least I can explain to myself some of these things. I know that the difficult one is the Carlos Hyde move.
Yeah.
But he's a GM that he doesn't sit in the background. He engages with the players.
Yep.
But he doesn't do it in a way where he's micromanaging those coaches. He does it in a way where he's just present. And he offers a little advice or a little joke or a little pick-me-up or a lift. Those things matter, I think, to those guys. It makes them personable. At the same time, though, if that's the way he is, he needs to translate that into his management skills, into his management style, in regard to, like we had talked about earlier, the team knowing what's going on with these coaches when it's time.
Gotta handle messaging
with all of that. I mean, that's where, I mean, it's not like John doesn't know how to do it. He does.
Yep.
And he's good at it. He's good at relating it with these people. He's good at relating with these guys.
I agree. I give it a B for Dorsey. With this thing of you have to improve your messaging internally in-house. I have no idea why you threw away the 2018 season, but you did. And that because of that, it can't go higher than this. But your drafting and your team of how you're doing skill sets is very strong. And it's very clear. And you have a plan and you're executing it. So I don't think it's a B minus. I understand too. I would not go lower than a B minus. I give him a B. But I think, those 3 things are big asterisks to me. Head coach hire, which is / development of Baker Mayfield, weapons and things on offense, and messaging internally. How you do as a manager in an office setting. Not on the field, in an office setting. He's got to improve on that. I've heard that's been a big downfall in his. Quickly for the Haslams, they get an incomplete because they hired a coach who should have never been here. So you can even give him an incomplete or an F. I'll be kind and give him an incomplete.
I'll give him an incomplete until this is it. This is it for me. Andy, if they don't get this right after this season with coach, if they don't let John Dorsey handle this the way that it needs to be handled. Granted, let's assume that John Dorsey's gonna handle it the way that it needs. I mean, that's an assumption itself. But I'm done with. Respectfully, Haslam family.
I understand.
Get it taken care of. Don't micromanage. Do it the right way.
Yep.
Let John handle this. Sit in on it. Learn from it. Be a part of it. But keep your damn fingers out of it when it comes to football decisions.
Yeah, that's why I give them an incomplete.
If they don't do it, Andy, I can't deal with them being the owners of it. That's where my hope will be gone.
By the way, I'm not on that train yet, but I understand that train.
I think this is starting to hit me this morning. The more that I think about how there was something, and again, this is just my perception, there was something about Jimmy Haslam looking like it was a struggle for him to not be the only one at that podium that day.
Well,
I don't know whether that's whether I'm just over-exaggerating my feelings about who I think this guy is, but is it that he doesn't want to relinquish power? Is it that he doesn't trust? Is it that because he got burned over by guys that worked for him for Flying J and that mess? I mean, what is it?
I think Haslam had to be up there.
Great, I really do. Absolutely. Because I'm talking about his appearance, though.
I know.
With John Dorsey, he just looks like.
I know. Look, it was an odd press conference. It wasn't clean. There was a lot of weird.
Weird innuendo, weird message, weird everything. I know.
It's funny. It doesn't matter who's up there. Those press conferences always go odd. The coach is being fired, so maybe that's part of it too. I don't know, but I understand your Haslam thing. Maybe I should lead off this. If there are certain teams the Browns are playing, I probably would take the Browns. The Chiefs are just the wrong team. They're very well coached. They're really, for people who haven't watched the Chiefs all year, this team's very talented on offense. They have some things on defense that are challengeable, but really, even with the Browns and what we just described, I don't know how they score points. I think the Browns lose by double digits in this game. I think it's more in around of like 35-21, something like that. I just don't see how – I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see how they're going to be able to win this game on Sunday.
No argument. I don't know. You look at every aspect of this game and not on – I mean, is there any part of the field that the Browns are better than the Chiefs right now?
No.
I don't know.
No, and again – they have a great coach. It's just a tough spot. It's just a wrong week.
They have a smart coach that knows how to use the guys that he's got.
I know. Wrong spot. If they would have played the Falcons this week, I would have loved the Browns. I would have taken the Browns, but not the Chiefs. No way. It's just too much. They're too good. So I think
it can happen quick.
It can happen quick. Before we get down to everything else in the show, is there anything else, Brown? I mean, this has been an exhausting, I say 3 weeks here. Is there anything you'd like to leave on before we turn to other things in the NFL and everything else? I mean, this has been a big week or two, which has not been good. We've gone from maybe playoff things to maybe we win some games to I don't know if there's any hope for this year to now we're really in disarray again. I mean, it's been a wild 2 or 3 weeks here for the Browns.
Three things, Andy. One, we knew what we were walking into this season from the beginning. We really did. We knew that we were going to have weeks like this. We knew that there would be a week where you would be gone. We knew that the team was going to struggle. So that's one. Mm-hmm. Two, we knew we had to be better, and we are. We're better.
Yeah,
we've got playmakers. We've got a base to build on, and it looks like we're moving in the right direction. And three, we needed a quarterback worse than anything. Since this team has come back, we needed to find the guy. And we did. Yep. Thank God. So just keep that young man healthy for 8 games. Other than that, I'll manage my depression and manage it, like I always have, especially now that the Cavs are in the basement as well. That's just the life that we have chosen to lead, Andy, as Cleveland sports fans.
That's right.
So that's
around the end, I would end on this. I think the quarterback thing's a very great point, and the defense is really getting close to the point where you feel great about it. I think you feel good about it right now. So there's things you're seeing in there, and again, this is just the line I'll use, and I'll end on it. When you only win one game for 2 years, to see how far this team has come, it's only equated to 2 wins, but the Browns have come a long way. And fortunately, when you dig such a hole like this is the hole you have to dig out of. it's not going to be easy. So this is part of the growing pains of what happened in the last 2 years, and it's really coming face planting forward. This week, there's a lot of good games in the NFL. The Steelers-Ravens at 1 o'clock, in case you need to switch on and off if the Chiefs game goes bad with the Browns. The 4 o'clock games are great. Chargers-Seahawks at 4:05, 4:25, Rams and Saints, great game in New Orleans.
That's going to be fun.
Great game. The Rams are fun to watch, and so are the Saints. Packers-Pats on Monday Night Football, not too bad. Packers have gone through some reshuffling. Looks like they're trading for next year.
A lot of moves. Boy, they're playing for next year, which is interesting. I would never expect that. The Packers are a team to keep your eye on because of who's around these circles. There's a lot of Packers who are on our staff, Alonzo Highsmith, Wolf, and certainly Dorsey. It's going to be interesting to keep your eye on that because I think the Packers are about ready to go through a big change. Don't be surprised if there's some Packers, whether it's personnel or players, coming to Cleveland next year. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think something to keep your eye on. Monday Night Football's Titans Cowboys. I'll do my picks real fast. I went 2-1. One with the Bears and Panthers, lost by half point. Boy, the Kitty Cats couldn't hold an 18-point lead, or I would have been 3-0, but they did not. So I went 2-1 quickly. I hate these games. If you're a gambler, this was the first week. I'm like, I don't like any of these games. The only game I like is I think New England's going to beat the crap out of the Packers. I think even though they have Rodgers, I think the loss they had against the Rams was a bad loss, and with the trades this week, I think mentality-wise, I think this is not the week to be going into Foxborough. I think the Pats win big. They're a 5-point favorite. I think they cover that easily. They win going away against the Packers. The other two I'm shaky on. I like Pitt in Baltimore. I think the Steelers are finally hitting their stride. I've never been a big believer in this Baltimore team this year. They're only 3-point. They're taking 3 on the road. I think you take the underdog here in the Steelers. This is usually not when you take the Steelers because Baltimore always plays the Steelers tough. But I just don't believe in Baltimore. Real quickly, what are your thoughts on Baltimore? You live there. I'm just not a believer in this team as much as other people were at the beginning.
I mean, I'm with you. And I feel like Pittsburgh's clicking now.
I do too.
Pittsburgh's doing that usual dysfunctional, somehow making the dysfunction function.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh,
yeah.
And like they take all their anger at each other, and then put it out on the football field against whoever they're playing. I mean,
yeah. I think there's a lot of change coming to Baltimore next year. I really do. I think that's another team that could be going through a lot of change. Ozzie Newsome's stepping down. I would keep your eye on Harbaugh. I know it's a weird thing to say with the guys winning a Super Bowl, but I'm telling you, I'd keep your eye on it. Baltimore has not really done as well lately, so keep your eye on that. I think that could see a changing of the guard in Baltimore.
Yeah.
The last game I'm going to pick the other team in your town. This is strictly I don't believe in the Falcons picks. I'm going to take the Skins. You only give a 1.5 here at home. I don't love this game, but it's more of the Falcons. I just don't believe in the Falcons anymore. So the Skins, if people aren't paying attention, the Skins are 5-2.
Yeah.
Sitting right there at the top of the NFC East, and they have a good quarterback, and I do like Jay Gruden. I think he's a good coach. So I think you take the Skins at home, and that's your NFL wrap-up. But really, before we move on, normally we do the Cavs here, but I want to do college football because I think this is such a big week for college football. A huge week of games. Love these games. Love them.
I've been a little more glued to what's going on with Urban.
Ohio State football.
And
lead off with that.
Strangeness of that situation.
Well, lead off with that. What have you been saying? What have you been watching?
Urban, I don't understand this. There's something weird about when things come out, I guess.
Right.
I just don't understand why now I'm learning about this cyst on that Urban Meyer has on his brain that he's been dealing with since 1998. And even like the medical condition itself, I wanted to look it up and learn a little more about it. I haven't really gotten enough information yet, but it gives him really bad headaches. He's knelt on the sideline because of the headaches.
Yeah.
I wonder, and just knowing how the brain works in general. Well, not knowing, but knowing some things about how the brain works, and depending on where the cyst is. Does this cyst at all affect, especially the pressure in your brain, his cognitive abilities, his decision-making, his moods, These are all things that he can. I mean, the articles that are written, they all say, they're managing it. He's managing it. Well, then what are we even talking about here? I mean, I don't know what is the goal of releasing this information now.
Well, I think how should I put this? I want to be careful.
Building some empathy for a guy who's hard to empathize with at this point in time. Sympathy card. And that is not to take away from what he is dealing with. That is not.
Again, it's a sympathy card. I also thought he released that because he wanted people to know. I think this year Urban's been more animated on the sideline. He's always had some animation, but I thought this year it's been over the top at times. I think he's looking very stressed out at times. I think that's why it came out, because this has been going on since '98 with him.
We've talked about him wanting to stay and play and coach, and
I think he's going to stay. I think he is.
You don't think that this is a way out?
I think this is, if something falls apart. I'm going very contrarian to what everybody else thinks, so I'm kind of on my own island. But I think Urban wants to prove something. I really do. Because he's had so many chances to take a step down at this point. I just don't see why you would do it now. Like, you might as well keep going now. I mean, I think he's looking for more sympathy and looking for ways to sponge his energy to go forward. And again, I think we alluded to this. November is the month when he's either at Florida or Ohio State, where his teams really start marching forward strong. And I just have learned that, and that's why I pause, because I think Ohio State will do the same thing. I just do. That's what it's like. It gets a little chillier in the fall. Well, that's usually when Urban Meyer's teams really start playing forward. It's just usually what happens. I think Ohio State's going to play well. I think they're going to blow out Nebraska, and I think it'll be business as usual. Maybe I'm just too naive. Maybe I'm not thinking about it enough, but I just think Ohio State, that loss, really finally settled down by the way, all self-created for all the bad and poor decisions they've been making when it comes to handling their staff. And now they're gotten to a point where they had a perfect time for a bye week. You release this information to try to get some sympathy back for people to understand this stuff. That's my guess. I have no idea. I'm just hypotheticaling here, everything. But with that said, I think Ohio State comes out firing. I really do. I think they play hard. I think they'll play well. And I would not be surprised if they are a pain in the butt for people to beat down the stretch.
I don't know. I think maybe this coming week because of the time off, yes, and going up against a Nebraska team they should handle easily.
Yep.
Right? Got it. But I don't know how that's going to hold up, because I think that defense is what it is.
No, I'm not disagreeing.
I am really not holding my breath when it comes to watching that defense keep those big plays from happening, especially against ranked teams towards the end of the season.
Well, yeah, Michigan State, obviously. So we'll see. It's been an interesting week. It's never dull in Columbus this year.
No, I'm never this pessimistic. I honest to God, Andy, I can't remember the last time I've been this pessimistic about an Ohio State Buckeyes football team. Maybe after a few years of trestle ball and playing that whole small ball and advantage of where you're at on the field. That got a little wearing for me over the years. But besides that, I mean, pessimistic. This is as pessimistic as I've ever been for a Buckeyes team.
Well, being maybe as I'm a neutral party here, I don't pull for Ohio State. I just think some of this has been really improperly so, actually. A lot of this has been in the press, as all of this should have been. And I just think there comes a point. I thought Purdue was really the faceplant moment for Ohio State. I think they'll bounce back. But everything you're saying about the defense, everything you've been saying is all fair. I mean, it's all. And by the way, there's not a lot of people in my corner, so I'm going off on a limb here. But that's what I feel.
I mean, really, Andy, can Ohio State beat an Alabama? Can they beat a Clemson? Can they beat an LSU? Can they beat a Notre Dame? Can they beat Michigan? Can they beat Georgia? Can they beat any of those teams? They can beat Michigan, maybe, but because Michigan might be a pretender.
Yeah, I was going to say Michigan.
We know that.
Michigan, Georgia, Notre Dame. Yeah, I think
Georgia,
they can.
Maybe. I don't know about Notre Dame. I don't even know about Georgia.
I think they could. I think the teams they can't beat are the top three: LSU, Clemson, Alabama. I don't know about that. That's tough. Alabama especially. No way. Nope. Not to, now that's where I'm not naive. Not this year. Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Not
college football.
Not this year. Speaking of my Irish, and I am a huge Irish fan, along with being a huge Purdue fan. And by the way, for everybody out there, there's a huge game going on in West Lafayette. The Iowa Hawkeyes come to town. But I'm not going to break this down in that broadcast. In fact, I will break down Notre Dame Northwestern. That is a huge game. And I'm nervous about this game because I think this game has a lot of pressure on it. I hate games like this because this is the game where you look at the teams and it's not hard. Notre Dame's better talented. They have a better quarterback. They have the staff. They have the team. They should win this game. But I've learned over the years, as we all have, Northwestern's one of those teams where Fitzgerald's a very good coach. He maximizes talent, and they do a great job of controlling tempo in the game. It feels like at times you're playing Northwestern's on the field the entire game sometimes, especially when you're losing. And this is one of these games for Notre Dame, which I saw last week. They played sloppy. They beat Navy. They really did a nice job with that. But there was some sloppiness. If they're sloppy against Northwestern, they will not win this game. Turnovers on the field. They had a couple last week. Putting the ball on the carpet, not doing the little things. That's what Northwestern feeds off on. And they will hit them harder than Navy did. So this is a very nerve-wracking game. I think the Irish squeak this out. But, boy, if I'm being truthful, this game I think comes right down the wire. I would never bet against the Irish, but if I were a gambler and I were neutral, I would take Northwestern. So that's Notre Dame. Tough game. Just be ready for that. Like a tough podcast, tough game. It's a tough game here. So we'll see what happens. The ways of the intranet. Playing its Googles and its, everything else. Fast, I've been on here forever. Big game. Hey, look, if you're a college football fan, please watch Alabama LSU. I will actually talk about it next week on Mondays. That's a wonderful game, a big historical game. You have to watch games like that if you are a lover of sports. The other games are West Virginia, Texas at 3:30 on Fox. CBS has a great game, too, at 3:30, Georgia and Kentucky. The winner of that game more than likely goes to the SEC championship game. And Penn State and Michigan at 3:45. All these are great. It's a great college football weekend. If you love sports, you have to watch it.
If LSU can't pull off the upset against Alabama, are they out of the picture at this point? Isn't that such a bummer that a team that good,
that's how it breaks.
That'll be their third loss, correct?
It will be. And the reason why I say they're out is because Georgia and Kentucky are more likely going into that game with one loss after their game, right? So Georgia, if they win, they're going to get the upper hand in this. It's hard. It's not fair.
Georgia doesn't have. I don't think Georgia should be in that conversation.
Well, they're going to be if they keep winning.
Yeah.
They're going to be if they keep winning. So, and again, they have to keep winning too. So, if I had to, just in case you're curious, as I've been on LSU all year, I think again, like Northwestern, I think LSU Alabama comes right down the wire. I don't like the fact, if you're an Alabama fan, that Alabama hasn't played anybody all year. They really haven't, so they haven't been tested. I think they get hit in the mouth of this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they were down at halftime. I just think, though, Alabama's too good. I just think they win in a squeaker. Wouldn't be surprised if it's tied going into overtime. But I like Alabama in a close game. I think the line's way too high. I just think it's like 14, 15 points.
Is it really that? I didn't.
Nah.
Oh. What does Vegas know in this situation?
I don't know. I was surprised about the Northwestern line. I was surprised about the Alabama LSU line. Surprised.
Jumping back over to that Penn State-Michigan game, and I know I bring up Michigan a lot of times in the Big Ten. These guys are ranked and they turn out to be pretenders. Michigan actually, to be honest, they do look solid this season. This is something we haven't seen and that Harbaugh's needed over the past few years, and it finally looks like they put something together. I have a feeling that, especially with the way that Penn State has played at times, and knowing how important some of the poor coaching decisions have come into play for Penn State, I think Michigan absolutely trounces Penn State this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Michigan has been really locked, and these two teams have really carried each other. Notre Dame and Michigan have played that game so well at the beginning of the year to help themselves. Even with Michigan losing that game, seeing Notre Dame keep winning has helped them, and vice versa. And that's what's not happened to Ohio State. TCU is 3-5. That has not helped out Ohio State at all. And then that stinks. And, that's the thing about these playoffs. Like, if you have a game like that, it looks like a good game on paper, nothing wrong with scheduling TCU. But TCU's been bad this year.
Yeah.
That's really hurt Ohio State. Really has. And
Does
that's
Ohio State if Ohio State wins out, where do they end up?
5 or 6.
They're out of the picture.
I would think right now it's going to be Clemson. I mean, it would take a lot of other teams at the fall. A lot of the teams. I mean, have to really fall.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. Ohio State, it's just one of those years where that Purdue loss was very damning. And their big non-conference win against TCU doesn't look as good. And the Big Ten's down. It's not good.
Avoiding that. And in my opinion, I don't want them in that conversation because it would just be an embarrassment at the end of the day, possibly.
It's really weird. The Michigan loss to Notre Dame is actually a better win than for Ohio State over TCU. That's how this is playing out right now. Isn't that weird? That's how it's playing out.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's how much the season changes from the first couple of weeks to now when we get down to the grind.
It's amazing. That's how it's played out right now. And if you're being fair, Michigan's a better team. But again, I will say this with reserve judgment. I've seen Ohio State and other teams that are in Meyer, Florida. November is the month they always turn it on. And until I don't see that, I feel they're going to do it again. Yeah. We will see. It'll be interesting. And I'll tell you, I hope I'm wrong. I think the Irish will be an absolute dogfight to win that game in Ryan Field. I think it's going to take everything they have to win that game in Evanston. Everything they have. I think they're going to be ready for that game. I think they're going to be really fired up. And Fitzgerald can coach.
Well,
tough spot.
Fun.
Oh, it will be fun for everybody else. It won't be fun for me. It'll be tough. It's a tough spot. All right.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Quickly to the Cavs. Ugh. They won a game on Tuesday. Ugh. Yay, hallelujah. By the way, that should not be undermined. You don't want to keep losing. That was a big win for that organization, for that team.
Yeah.
Here's the three things I want to hit on. I don't know how much I want to break it down. I didn't watch the game on Thursday. I know you did. I watched the game on Tuesday. Here are the three things that I'm observing going into the weekend, and I'll try to watch a little bit on Saturday night. I'll probably watch Saturday night a little bit, as I'll have it on. Number one, the Larry Drew situation continues to be very strange. The more I read into it, the more I'm on. I don't want to be neutral, but I'm more on both sides with this. I think Larry Drew's asking for a whole lot, and I don't think the Cavs are giving him enough. They have to meet in the middle and negotiate this out. Hopefully they do. Until then, I think it's going to be a strange situation now.
In the meantime, though, if he's asking for a lot, he's got to be doing. They got to show it on the court. And yes. Last night, Andy, they looked as bad as they've looked before they got rid of T. Lue.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you could see Larry Drew look frustrated on the sideline. He told the guys, "Look, you're playing individual basketball. You're not going to win.
Well, yeah,
this is the way you're going to play." And after that first quarter, damn it, Andy, they were just atrocious.
Well, the two things that you and I talked about before we went on, that I'm going to, and I don't know why they're doing this, but I got this sense on Tuesday too.
Yeah.
They're putting a lot of muscle into Rodney Hood and Cheney Osmond playing well to win games, and that's why they have one win, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rodney Hood had another fall on his face night.
Bad game.
28 minutes.
Bad game. I just don't understand why they're hitching their wagons, those two, a lot, but they are. And as long as they do that, I think you're looking at 8 to 10 wins.
No clue. Sam Decker led the team in minutes, 34 minutes.
The Cavs are
6 points.
The Cavs are looking at a lot of lottery options. I mean, there's just no question. It's not even a question anymore. And that goes to the third point. J.R. Smith wants to be out. I think you're going to start seeing more of that on this team.
Why did he make the comments afterwards on Twitter saying that wasn't true, though? I don't know.
I don't know. J.R. does that a lot. J.R.'s done that a lot in his career. And I like J.R. a lot, but he does that a lot. Where he says one thing, and I don't know. But JR's, look, unless I'm completely wrong, I got the feeling JR's ready to go. So
yeah, he might be.
They might be. I think JR, Tristan
There's articles coming out already with putting packages together, ideas of putting.
Hey, look, whatever.
Deals and
to be fair, if JR really wants that, I don't have a problem with it. Let him go at this point. No. Same with Tristan. Same with Kyle Korver. Yep. Honestly, I think Rodney Hood, if anybody really wants Rodney Hood, and then I think Hill. I think those are guys you should watch. I think those are guys who will not be here much longer. I think Hill, Korver, and J.R. Smith will not be here much longer.
Andy, this is difficult to watch, man.
I told you, the Pacers game was eye-opening. The thing is, again, and I don't know why, but they're putting so much into Chetty and so much into Rodney. I don't know why. I don't know.
What do you think's more difficult basketball to watch? This time around LeBron gone, or the first time around LeBron gone?
This time around is much easier. Because the first time around, I saw so many things where I knew if they had LeBron, that they would be winning games. And right now what I'm seeing is if they had LeBron, I think they would be in the playoffs, but you're talking third, fourth, fifth seed.
I just go back to the Warriors again and what they've put together and saying, I don't even, it's hard for me to even want to watch. I love my Cavaliers.
Well, I'll say this.
What are we even doing?
I'll say this. I'm into the Cavs. I'm a Cavs fan. I'm not into anything else in the NBA.
Right, exactly.
I don't really.
Because it's just.
I don't even care about the Lakers. Don't care. I do not care. I think they're 2-6, by the way.
Oh, they are. Yeah, the Lakers are not. Yeah, they're not. They're not performing.
By the way, it's not surprising. But again, that's the thing. It's like I'm not surprised. We kind of talked about it here. Like they kind of walked into what they're doing. Now they're 3-5. They got to win. Who'd they beat the other night? I know the Mavericks. They came back and beat the Mavericks. So they got that win. But I mean, again, back to the Cavs. I don't want to talk about the Lakers. Yeah. I don't like the Lakers, and I never. So I'm not wasting.
Stupid too.
They're stupid. Well, the team name is stupid. It's meant for Minnesota. Whatever. People don't know. They were the Minneapolis Lakers, and they became the Los Angeles Lakers. And like the Utah Jazz, they just held on to that name for no apparent reason.
No reason. Yeah. It made sense.
Whatever. Now you can't change it. I mean, it's too late now, in my opinion. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. With all that said, I mean, the thing for the Cavs is I'm going to be watching a lot of Chetty Osman, a lot of Rodney Hood. That's my opinion. They're going through those two a lot. I like Sexton. I like Larry Nance. I like Clarkson, but those are 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th options on your teams. They're not 1, 2s, and 3s. And I guess my last note is we need Kevin Love to get back badly. The Cavs are really missing Kevin Love. And
but he might need surgery.
It might be weeks to months.
Yeah, he might end up having surgery on that toe.
Yeah.
And if he feels like that's what he needs to do, I'm not going to blame him for doing it.
Then you're talking All-Star game.
Which is fine, because what else are we doing?
I don't know. I will keep watching. I will say, if there are people out there like, how can you keep watching this? I'm not disagreeing. This is sympathetic watching because I need to watch it, but it's not good.
Did you see Brian Windhorst put out a story about an hour ago, too?
What was his latest story?
Former coach Jim Boylan. He was an assistant coach, filed a lawsuit Thursday against the team alleging age discrimination after his option wasn't picked up for this season. Because he's 63 years old. It's just, that's not good.
No.
It's not a good sign. Now. And
I'm seeing the story now here, too. I mean, the Cavs are and what's miffed about all this, they got the All-Star game. They got things going on there that you do like, but these kind of stories, the play on the floor is pretty bad. The Cavs are going to have, the Indians spring training will be here just like that, folks. I'm telling you, it'll be just like here, and we'll be talking about the Indians winning the Central, and it'll be great. But, boy, until then, the Cavs are a bad team. The Browns are going to probably lose some more games with hope to come.
Yeah, this is going to be a depressing podcast.
But it's going to be rough. And, boy, if Notre Dame loses, I'm going to be really in a bad mood. But, look, that's what you're looking at. I think that's what you're looking at. But, again, from the Cavs' perspective, Chetty and Rodney Hood are driving this team, and that's why their record is what their record is, in my opinion. I don't think either player is very good. And that's what you're going to get. I've heard people say complimentary things about Chetty Osman. I'm not seeing it. I'm going to keep watching. Maybe I'll change my mind, but so far, I'm not impressed.
No, why? Why should you? Why should you? And I think what's being lost in all this too is who's teaching Colin Sexton? Who's developing that kid?
It's a mess. It's a mess.
Who's showing that kid the ropes? Who's he learning from? Is he learning from Rodney Hood?
Kobe Altman.
Is he learning from J.R. Smith? From Kobe Altman?
I don't know.
Okay.
Lean times, when we talk about the Browns, I'll show you lean. This is lean times in Cleveland Cavs land. Lean times.
Yeah.
They haven't even gone to the West Coast yet.
I don't even want to talk about it. We're going to end on that note.
I will not be staying up for those games when it comes to the West Coast. They play in March this year. Martin signed with the Indians. That's a good thing. I thought the World Series stunk outside of games 3 and 4. I thought 3 was a great historical game that lasted way too long. I thought game 4 was a very good game. That was the one game I really got into in the World Series. The Dodgers were up, and then the Red Sox came back. Another championship for Boston. And then, for what it's worth, the offseason is starting to come out now. Hopefully we get some more stories. But it's good to see Martin is now healthy enough to the point.
Yes, thank you. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I needed something to be happy about. And that's nice.
Cleveland Indians.
That helps big time with the outfield if he comes back healthy. Huge.
They need
if he's the guy that they hoped he was.
I would still bring back Brantley.
But that's the issue. It doesn't look like they're going to pick up the 7 million on that. And,
we talk about latest things. This will be a good thing to end on because Buster only just posted a story right as we're doing our podcast. And it sounds like the Indians will listen to trade offers on their veteran players this winter as they face the sort of difficult choices that small market teams must address. The Indians will hold Lindor and Jose, of course, but they vindicate to the industry. Oh, this is interesting. Remember we talked about trades?
Yeah.
Kluber, Carrasco, Gomes, Perez, and Encarnacion and Kipnis are all players that are possible for trades. No Bauer, so they're going to keep Bauer.
I would have expected Kipnis, although I don't really know what they're going to get. The Kluber thing has been something that's kind of gained steam over the past couple of weeks.
But we talked about it. You can't keep going along with Bauer and Kluber and think you're going to win a championship. You just can't do it.
No.
I mean, I think you're going to have to make a decision there, one way or the other. I like how they threw in Roberto Perez. I mean, I don't know how that guy's getting traded at this point. I like Roberto. He's a very nice guy, but he didn't play well at all last year. I'll tell you, Jan Gomes being traded with Sting. He's a good player. Corey Kluber and Jan Gomes with Sting. Edwin Encarnacion would be sad, but I get it. Carlos Carrasco would Sting too. That's a really good contract. Those are stinging trades. They made him in those trades. They'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and again, I don't understand this whole. There's that league. It's not even just the Indians. Somehow Bauer, as much of a butthead as he can be on social media, sometimes has he endeared himself to the league itself in a way. I mean, he's showing up in the off season on all the shows, doing his thing in regard to Major League Baseball. He inserts himself into any of the discussions on spin rates or what other teams are doing, what other players are doing. I just don't get the appeal, I guess. Like, I'm over him. That's the harshest I'll get.
I'm more neutral in that. Not over him, but Bauer. If Bauer becomes the guy, that puts a lot of pressure on him.
I don't know that he's Mr. Pressure Guy.
And I agree.
I think Mr. Talk about being the pressure guy.
I think that's except for one game against the Yankees in the ALDS. I agree with you. Cut his hand again. I mean, people forget he cut his hand against the Blue Jays. It might have cost the Indians a World Series. Sorry. It's true. I understand the Bauer things. I'm very indifferent about him. But they're not mentioning Bauer in this article at all. So maybe we'll talk about that more next week because that'll take us off kilter. We've been on here long enough. But, it's interesting. That's interesting that they're thinking about Kluber and Carrasco and Gomes. Those are startling names. Not surprised about Edwin. Not surprised about Kipnis. But, boy, Gomes would hurt. That would hurt. He really played well towards the end of the year. That would hurt. I'd hate to see Jan go. That'd be tough. Boy, well, I tried to end on a positive. I ended on a negative. Ugh, look at me.
Not your fault. That's breaking stories.
Exactly. Well,
let's end it on this then. I'll end it on this because I laughed as soon as it popped up. Tom Withers, Associated Press reporter for Cleveland sports teams here.
Great guy, by the way. Great guy. I like Tom a lot.
He just tweeted, just me, but if I won 3 of 40 games, I might chill for a minute.
Yeah.
As soon as I read it, I wanted to laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. All right.
Political cleanup. Things to again very quickly. Hopefully they give the Chiefs a good game and play well. I think they will play hard. I think the Chiefs are the wrong opponent this week. Yeah. The Cavs, if you like Rodney Hood, you like Chetty Osman, you're going to like the Cavs a lot. They're relying on those two to win a lot of games. They like to win a game. Everything else is kind of a dismantling in Cavalier land. The Indians are being rumored to make some trades, which I thought was going to happen. And I think it's going to happen. So you got to keep your ear to the ground on that, whether it's Buster Olney or other people at Fox Sports, whoever you want to pay attention to. The Indians are going to be rumored for a lot of things in the next couple weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward. And I think the bigger thing here is, for whatever reason, these last 3 or 4 weeks have been a very big week for the Browns where it comes to changing and getting prepared. It may not be in wins, but this is building towards 19 in a positive way. I do want to end there. I think 19 is going to be very exciting for the Browns if it's done properly. Well, and people should keep that in mind.
That's where I go back to this. Keep Baker healthy, period.
Keep Baker healthy. Keep the defense grinding it out because you see things in there that can really go far. Yeah. And that's something that everybody should keep in mind. When we're talking last year, it's like we look forward to. It's like, God, mock drafts, I don't know. I mean, it was really low. In this case, you can see it. It's coming. And the Cavs are like the Browns last year. I don't know. Rough. Go Irish. Beat Northwestern, LSU, Alabama. Everybody should watch that game. Great game. And, it'll be interesting to see how the Bucs play in November. And there you go.
He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. This has been Cleveland and Beyond. And we're just going to hop back on the struggle bus and hopefully make it through another week. All right, brother.
And by the way, thanks to the people at Skype for that interesting break in the live feed today. And hopefully Skype, like everybody else, will get a good restful weekend, if that's possible.
Exactly.
Enjoy their weekend, everybody.
Needed. Take care.
Exactly. Take care.
Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond on Twitter. You can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.